Before we begin, thank you very much to Susan C. for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for the contribution. Thank you very much for the support. Always, always appreciated. It is something I say every time because it's true every time. It's the reason I can continue to do free videos for you every single day is that Patreon. So if you want to continue, please consider pitching in. Even if it's $1 a month, please consider pitching in there. So, I know we've talked Elita-1 before. I think it's like a year and a half ago, somewhere around that time frame. We did a whole like evolution of Elita-1, her rise to prominence in the Transformer fiction from just the female Optimus Prime that showed up in one episode to almost usurping RC in character importance. And it was a weird transition, not an unwelcome one though, because she is more correct as a original female Transformer than RC, though even that is not entirely accurate. Point being, she has had this meteoric rise to all of a sudden being a focal point in the Transformer fiction out of seemingly nowhere. So we need to kind of examine her again because recent events in Skybound have kind of shifted things, and now it's not about the rise of Elita-1, it is, what the hell are we doing with her? So, let's pull this all the way back to the Search for Alpha Trion. Season 2 episode, everyone goes back to Cybertron, meets their girlfriends. And Optimus Prime and Elita-1 are reunited after apparently being torn apart as the escape of the Ark was changed from a routine launch off the planet as an exploratory mission for Energon to getting out before everything blew up. Retcons are fun that way. But in the episode, she is depicted as this cool-headed, calm, in-control leader. And let's be honest here, she's done a pretty good job. She managed to hold down the planet for 4 million years while Optimus Prime has been unconscious on Earth. She's managed to continuously thwart Shockwave, so he is not in full control of planet Cybertron, and as we saw in Season 1, he was desperately low on fuel. Now, that is, of course, in Season 1, because that's the storyline. They don't have enough Energon. But the fact that she is keeping Shockwave at bay for 4 million years, that's pretty incredible. That's really impressive, actually. So, in that regard, you could almost call her a better leader than Optimus Prime. Yeah, he held down the war for millions of years as well, but presumably Elita was doing the fighting during that time as well. And then when he left, she was the one to take over. And she still held down the fort, even without the most powerful leader the Autobots had. That's highly commendable. But as I said, her characterization was very akin to Optimus Prime. She was very level-headed, very in command. She did have this commanding presence to her. And she seemed like a very capable leader. 4 million years honed her into a very, very good decision maker. So, when it comes time for modern depictions, it feels like a lot of writers just wanted to come up with some kind of twist. Keep in mind, we didn't even touch on Elita-1 fiction-wise for decades. She was a one-episode character, showed up, did nothing after that, and then we just kind of move on with the franchise. But the few times we saw her, BotCon used her sparingly. Dreamwave was going to use her, but her and the other female Autobots were Quintesson agents, so she was just evil because evil. No, we didn't really get any new usages of her until the modern comic books, which brings us to Skybound, where they've decided to take the same route. Elita-1 has been spending millions of years fighting off this war that Optimus Prime has missed out on. And the result is the polar opposite. She is not calm and collected, she is aggressive to the nth degree. She is violent, blunt, and brutal. And the Autobots underneath her, likewise, are very blunt and brutal. Her depiction here is the horrors of war, essentially. It's been wearing on her for millions of years, and all she knows how to do at this point is commit violence to gain her goals, essentially. She has no, she's abandoned any Autobot ideal of negotiation, defense, protection, anything like that. It is, I have to eliminate the other side now while we still have enough troops to eliminate the other side. She's just gone off the deep end at this point. So 4 million years of constant war turns someone who was, Optimus Prime's, girlfriend, wife, how do we want to describe her in this universe, into someone who is almost as bloodthirsty as a Decepticon. And it mirrors something, and we've seen this before, and I don't like where we've seen this before, because this is a rise of, I will admit, I was leading up to a different slide, so you'll excuse me if my momentum is completely out of place. The other thing to mention was the fact that, yes, she even declares Optimus Prime and all of his Autobots as enemies, because they are not supporting her battle on Cybertron. They're off. As far as she's concerned, they're off having a fun time on Earth. So, yeah, she's not happy. And she views Optimus Prime, in her anger, she views Optimus Prime as an enemy. Now we get to the point where I was leading up to. This is the same build as IDW Megatron. This was his following. This was his ideology. Someone who originally did want to do good, who did want to protect the planet, who was, for all intents and purposes, a good person. Millions of years of war in constant escalation to constantly try to one-up the enemy led him down the path that he went down, to the point where all he knew at that point was the violence. It wasn't a matter of any more of like corrupted Autobots have to be eliminated to all Autobots have to be eliminated. And it's a brutal direction. Now, for him, it makes total sense. And to be frank, it makes sense for Elita-1 as well. The only problem is she's acting very antagonistic. Her role in the books is to be a counterpoint to Optimus Prime, in that she is also a strong leader, but being war-torn has taken a massive toll on her. Thus, we see massive differences between them now. And it's supposed to be emotional. It's supposed to be tear two lovers apart type thing. And there's parts of that. But at the same time, I don't know, like, it feels like she's gone down a path where she should not be viewed as a hero anymore, even though she might still have, like, pro-Autobot ideals. I'm not great with this. I'm not great with this storyline. And here's the problem. Megatron was eventually punished for what he was doing. His powers were stripped. He was given a hopeless mission to follow, and a promise of a death sentence when he returned. So, what do they do with Elita? They reward her. They give her the freaking Matrix. They just give it to her. Okay, so Elita Prime is an idea that was eventually going to happen in more than one way. Like at some point, she was going to become a Matrix bearer, just because she's always depicted as a leader equal to Optimus Prime. So, yes, this was inevitable. I think it was very poorly timed, as it undercuts the whole RC Magnus thing from 2 issues earlier. She hasn't really gotten a chance to show how she is now, what's different about her. And then we jump straight into Elita Prime, and now the story is going to have focus on her as if she's a protagonist. Somehow her viewpoint was seen as correct Whereas in previous stories, the exact same viewpoint of Megatron was seen as an act of evil. And yes, she's committing these hacks against Decepticons, but it's not what Autobots are supposed to do. So it's telling a weird story. I see the story they're going with. They're not going to keep the Matrix with Elita. Eventually, she's going to tap the will or the wisdom of the Matrix, one or the other. She's going to learn what went wrong. She's going to become a little bit more mellowed out, see Prime's point of view, and eventually give it back. Eventually. That's the inevitability of this storyline. But that said, this didn't have to be how it was done. Also, by the way, I think the way the Matrix whole transfer was done is actually kind of messed up, because the scene is literally Elita in hysterics beating on Optimus Prime's chest until the big strong man stops her and just puts his foot down and says, "Stop." And then she's this crumpled up heap of emotional woman on her knees. There's something very Nick about the whole setup, which again undermines Elita and looks kind of misogynistic in depiction. I'm going to be blunt about it. So I'm not happy with how it looks. It's beside the point, because the point here is the characterization and the storyline, but it's worth mentioning that this scene ain't great. In a scene of scenes that ain't great. Because the immediate scene afterwards is to show just how militant she still is. She can't just command the Autobots who want to remain on Earth and track down Megatron to like, this is your mission now. You fail this mission, you fail as Autobots. You know, I'm taking as many people as I can back to Cybertron. That's how you should do it. It should literally be that simple. You know, hey, we're fighting a war on Cybertron. I need you people back on here to finish the fight. If you want to stay and continue hunting down Megatron, I will give you that mission here on Earth. But if you fail, you are no longer Autobots. No, we're going to cut straight to, you follow me or you're not Autobots. Immediately way more militant than Optimus Prime. Immediately completely misses the storyline completely. I hate when the story is driven by lack of communication. Because if it's communicated to Elita-1, we went on this rant during my talk of issue 30 a couple days ago. If you just explain to Elita-1 that Megatron is on Earth trying to gain resources and energy to return to Cybertron way more powerful. And if he does that, you will not have the capability of stopping him. He is literally going to return to Cybertron with all the energy and resources you lack. So if you are barely holding on now, you will be killed when he returns. This isn't a direct threat to Cybertron. And she don't see that because no one's communicating that to her. Optimus has her in a situation where she's actually accepted that she's gone too far and violence is all she knows. But he's not actually using his voice to explain it to her. Instead, we're going through this incredibly dramatic Matrix passing situation, which is also completely unnecessary because all he has to do is say, I will give you command of the Autobots, but not the Matrix leadership. Prove to me that your way is right, I will relinquish the Matrix to you. Here, take the Autobots who are willing to go with you, but we need to stop Megatron here. And that's all they need to do! I just gave you 2 better ways of writing this scenario. And the second one doesn't undercut RC Magnus, by the way. So, yeah. This is incredibly... I want to say this is like the first really big misstep of Skybound. Yes, there's still plenty of story to tell. Yeah, they could turn it around. But it all stems from this really heinous depiction of Elita-1, where she's incredibly violent, militant, and... yeah, acting as bad as the Decepticons and pretending that she is still a good person by saying she's an Autobot. We're fighting for the planet. at this point, you're fighting for complete murder of the other side, which I think makes you just as bad as the Decepticons. The strength of Optimus is he's always willing to fight to a standstill. He wants surrender, not murder. Huge difference, and it's one that a lot of writers don't really pick up on. Hi, Michael Bay. Yes, I'm taking a shot at the movie. I apologize, but it's kind of true. The hard thing here is that this aggression starts with her very first depiction, which was in IDW. That's the first storyline that really took Elita-1 and took her seriously as a major character. But probably too seriously, as like when your first appearance is you sitting on a throne made of your ancestors' bodies, the corpses of the previous leaders of Carcer. That's a little far. I'm pretty sure this is not a good person. She looks like Frieza here, where she's just sitting smug in her throne, looking extreme, with like this immensely evil aura to her. And at no point in the books does she like become like a villain. Maybe like, maybe like counterpoint to the Autobots or Optimus, but never like fully evil. But look at her. The way she's depicted, the way she's drawn, she almost always looks like she's about to stage a hostile takeover. And this is basically where, like, Elita gets her modern characterization, which is completely counterpoint to anything that you've seen from her origin depictions. It is akin to seeing RC in IDW 1.0 for the first time ever, and she's just a kill-crazed murder machine. That's not supposed to be RC. It's okay to try something new with a different character, but when you shift the character so dramatically that you don't recognize them outside of their design, then maybe they shouldn't have been that character in the first place. There is such a thing as going too far. And it's now informed many versions of the character. In Transformers 1, we had a hot-tempered Elita-1. Yeah, she's not villainous or militant in any way, but she is the first to bark everyone around. She is the first to lose her temper. And that's just how she is in that situation. We could continue into the modern ones. In Earthspark, that's still the kind of way she is. She's more eager to start throwing punches than Optimus Prime is. They have a whole scene in an episode devoted to her realizing that about herself and trying to be better. That's, again, a pretty big thing. But it still stems from that, like, IDW depiction of a character who has aggression issues. And even into, like, Cyberworld today, that's still kind of how Elita-1's character is depicted. Nothing off of how she originally was. Everyone just kind of wants to dabble in that aggression, and take that aggression and make it her characterization. But I argue with you. She's supposed to be the love of Optimus Prime's life. And a lot of these modern depictions just do not seem like a character who would ever catch Optimus Prime's eye. In the Skybound books, at the very least, it's because her characterization has changed. She is a character who's no longer the person she once was. That's a story that you can tell. That's where, like, I understand the story they're trying to go for. And obviously there's still some connection, but there's also a regret that, Elita's changed too much. Like, this is in the past now. This cannot be happening again. And it's weird. It's weird. I've seen Elita-1 go from Optimus Prime's girlfriend and to be someone who's, like, very much, like, akin to Optimus Prime, to someone who is intentionally written to challenge and counterpoint him, but still have this, like, well, they're kind of in love kind of thing going on. And it never works. It never works. It never comes across like someone Optimus would be with, which is where I argue her characterization has gone way too far. Way too far in the trying to be Optimus but counter to his philosophy thing. it doesn't strike as someone Optimus would ever give a chance to, let alone not romantically and not professionally. I don't see him, giving like second in command or like paired leadership to someone who is this aggressive and anti-Autobot. The irony here is, I think the one depiction that actually got in Elita that felt natural was, of all things, the Machinima series. Or the Netflix series, I'm sorry. Machinima didn't do anything right. Let's never give them credit for anything. Except Old Man Megatron. That was fun. But no, like, the Netflix Elita-1? Yes, like, she actually seems like some form of evolution of the original character. Was she that great of a character? No, nobody in that show is that great of a character. But at least she didn't feel wrong. I give it that. Elita, in all of her depictions, if you take from the original G1 to what she is now, just feels like she's in the wrong place. This is the only time I can think of where, yeah, this actually seems okay. This actually seems like, Elita, but, not in the 80s. Okay, so it's at this point I need to stop because I feel my head getting hot from ranting about this. Yeah, this is mostly just me getting my frustrations out for the day. I really do not like the direction Elita's going in. I think it's a very poorly written direction. I think there are far better ways this could have been taken. I'm willing to wait and see. But right now, I am not happy with, overall, just how the character of Elita-1 has been treated the last few years. Because it doesn't feel right, And the more I see Skybound embrace that part of her and just run with it, the more I'm seeing it. And I don't like that. So, thank you, for starters, to Red Claw for, setting me off yesterday and making me want to go on a rant in the first place. But also thank you all for watching, as I understand this is probably just me getting some aggression out and probably not the most compelling of videos, but I appreciate you sticking through to the end. But thank you all. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.